Okay, so the scarf finally is done. I am so proud of myself. It looks absolutely stunning, so I'm not sure if you can get a better view of it there. Okay. Now the last part I need to do basically is to deal with the fringe. Okay. Now in the previous videos that I've shown you, I had already done the hem stitching, so it's not going to unravel, which is great. But I need to figure out what kind of fringe do I want, and I'm not sure at this point. I've decided, well, I'm going to not have a knotted fringe, so it will be knotted at the top. But do I do a twisted fringe? Do I do a twisted fringe with beads, for example? So I'm going to try out various things and then try and figure out what I want to do with my fringe. And I will take you guys along for the ride. What are some things that you would need for this? Basically, is I'm going to need a rotary cutter. Okay. Generally, the rotary cutter, you're removing it to make a cut, and obviously always safety first, and you put it back, okay? And I'll show you how to use that safely. You also have, I'm not sure what you would call this. I guess I bought it for quilting, so it's, I guess, a quilting ruler is what I would call it. You can get them in various lengths, various sizes. This one happened to work for me for quilting. It's a bit big sometimes for when I'm using for weaving, particularly fringes, but again, at some point I'll probably buy a smaller one. You want to have something also called a self-healing mat. So this is a mat that I can use. Oh, it's upside down, I guess. It's a mat that basically I can use the rotary cutter on. It will not damage my table, okay? It also has measurements on it if you need to use that as well, okay? And then I picked up yesterday, I went to my local bead store and I picked up various beads that I thought might actually work with the actual fringe. I'll show you some close-ups of these beads later on when we actually do the twisted fringe with the beads, okay? So let's start off with the knotted fringe, okay? All right. So right now, the first thing we want to start with is we're going to start with the knotted fringe before we cut down the fringe to the length that we need. You should have something fairly heavy on top. Usually I actually use a case of pop in order to be able to do that, but in this case I don't have any pop, so I'm just going to use, a box of parchment paper so that it will keep it secure. You want something fairly compact that, and obviously, I mean, you can find stuff around the house that will obviously not damage your work, okay? So let's start basically at the far end here, all right? I've made these bundles basically in bundles of 10. Now, when I'm doing hem stitching, I think it was a little bit too big to do that, to be perfectly honest. So what you want to do basically is you're going to take a look at the very last strand. So let me see if I can find the last strand here, okay? And this tip is coming from Sarah Bixler. She has some weaving videos, for example. I just used to do the knot at the very top, but in order to kind of show continuity, she had suggested that you take the last thread, okay, so I'll put this over here, the last thread of the first bundle, and then the first thread, so let's find the first thread, all right, of this bundle. And then you're basically going to cross them so in a way that basically it's going to lock. So is it going to lock this one going on the bottom, or is it going to lock with this one going on the top? Now, if I go on the top, it doesn't do anything, okay? The locking seems to come, all right, when I'm bringing this over here, all right? So I'm going to take these. I'm going to do my overhand knot. So basically my overhand knot, I'm just going to do that, pull it through, and then I basically, okay, leave this one here so that I know it hasn't been left out. And I'm going to bring it close to the top, all right? And then I'm just going to try and cinch it as close as I can. Now see, if you make it too small, it's going to cinch beforehand. You're going to have that actual spacing left over, which I don't want, all right? All right, so the last one of this bundle, first one of this bundle, I'm going to pass this one underneath so that it cinches, okay? So you'll notice you have one from the previous one from the next one, making my loop. And I find if I hold on to it here, it's easier to, okay, there we go. Oh, no, I made a boot. Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay. Now, usually, Neelix is here, my cat, who loves to give me advice. I swear to God that this cat probably was a weaver in his past life, because he loves, anytime I'm weaving, he's usually around doing something. Alright, so last one of this one. First one of this one. I'm going to take this one and go underneath to join this package. Do my little thing there. Grab the bottom 2-cinch. Okay. And again, don't make the knots super tight until you know that everything's lining up fine and you're happy with it. Okay. And again, just keep going. Put on an audiobook. Do something to keep your mind occupied until you've done all your fringes. All right. And that's all basically there is to it. All right. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go across. I'm going to do all of my knotted fringes on both sides, and then we're going to come back and cut the length down so it's perfectly even on both sides so that we can continue on with the twisted fringe. All right, so I've knotted all the fringes basically. We're going to cut it down. Now on my pattern it says to allow for 5-inch fringe on both sides. Now I made a boo-boo because on one side I've got lots of excess. This side I have very little excess. So if I wanted a fringe that was 5 inches long, I would leave 6 inches, well, like an inch for each knot. So basically I've knotted on this side here, so I've probably taken up an inch. I will knot after the twist, which will take up obviously a little bit more space as well. So my fringe actually is going to end up being shorter than I anticipated, which again for me is not the biggest deal, but again, lesson learned. When I tied it onto the apron of the table loom, I did not leave, as I said, enough on this side here. Okay, so basically I'm going to use again, I don't know what this is called, this, but the weaving ruler is what I basically call it. Generally, you would line it up against your knots and measure outwards. But because of the fact that this is wider, I should buy a narrower one, but because this is wider than what I've got right now for fringe, that is a bit problematic. So what I'm going to do basically, I'm going to line it up, okay, on the same line, make sure that the line goes all the way down, okay, on the mat. I'm going to line also my lines up here, okay? So you'll notice, obviously, if I line it up here, okay, with the edge, this would be 1, 2, 3, 4 inches. I don't want that. So I'm going to get myself as long a fringe as I possibly can. See, ideally, I would like to have a 6-inch fringe, okay? But again, some of them are just slightly shorter than they should be, so that's unfortunately not going to work. What I'm going to do, because I want to cut them evenly, I'm going to, let's see here. Yeah, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to line them up. It's not going to be exactly on the 6-inch line. The 6-inch line is actually just before, okay? So you've got the first, second, third, fourth, sorry, 5th-inch line is right before the knots here. Everything is lined up beautifully. I'm checking, again, I'm using the grid on the mat as well to make sure everything is perfectly out. I've combed out, okay, actually, you know what, just get myself maximum. It doesn't help that these are crinkled either, okay, but I want to make sure, you can use a comb, okay, also, all right, but I need to make sure that they are as long as possible because I don't want things shorter, all right. Alright, and the crinkle, unfortunately, from the apron does not help. Okay, so let's try it again. So let's line that up. Okay, so let's see here. I'm going to line that up here. So this line is along there. Okay, this line is along here. Alright, now you'll notice that this here is basically a guard for my fingers. It does not make sense to have it on this side, to be perfectly honest. So I'm going to switch that around. All right. And I'm going to line her up again. Okay. So what I'm going to do basically right now is I'm going to hold it. All right. I'm going to take my rotary cutter. All right, basically press down, pull it out. It is now dangerous. Obviously, I've got my guard here. I don't need to worry about it. I'm going to press evenly straight down, all right, against it, all right? Now, usually if it's longer, it's not an issue. You'll see that on the other side. I'm going to wipe away everything to make sure I've cut everything properly and evenly, and that's as easy as it is, okay? So let's do it again on the other side. All right, we're going to line her up. Now, this side is way longer than the other side, okay? So I don't have to worry. I'm going to have lots of cuttings, all right? So I'm going to line it up here. I'm going to, all right. I want to, there we go, okay? All right, so I'm going to line it up against one line here. All right, I'm going to do the exact same thing I did before, so I'm going to line it up on this line right here where the knots are, okay? And then I'm going to try and line it up on my grid to make sure everything is nice and straight. So I've got this line here along this grid, this line here along this grid. I'm going to put my hands down, hold it down nice and firmly. Again, my rotary cutter, okay, I don't have any kids around, so I'm not too worried about it. If my cats were around, of course I would have retracted it, but they're right now doing their napping thing. Okay, so I'm going to press it down, straight down, firmly, all the way. Okay, and then I'm just going to pull away to make sure I've cut everything correctly. We're good to go. And I've got the same amount on both sides. So now we can go on with the twisted fringe. Okay, so basically what I want to do right now is I want to try different types of fringes to see what it is that I'm going to like in the end. Right now I've got just a regular knotted fringe, okay? It is quite lovely. I may decide to stay with that, but I want to just test some other types of fringes. The next fringe I want to try out is, so let's leave maybe 2 or 3 knotted so I can, you know, kind of compare at the end. And I kind of put the weight here, okay? I've got my weight, not as heavy as I'd like. Don't have my, my box there. But, and I'm going to put these out of the way, the rest of them, or the next few, so they don't get kind of, let's see here. All right, they don't get tangled here. So what you want to be using basically is something called a fringe twister. I've got one by Leclerc, but I'm guessing there might be other companies out there that would have them. And the fringe twisters basically come with 2, 3, or 4 of them. And so basically, it doesn't mean that you're doing 2 or 3 or 4 fringes at once. Basically, you're still using the same packet. But instead, I can divide. So there's basically 10 threads I've got in here. So I can divide it into 2. I can divide it into 3, although in my case it would not necessarily be even. And then there's options. Obviously, if I had, you know, the 4th one, I could divide it even more so. Now, supposedly, according to Sarah Bixler, the twist should be somewhat different between 2 and 3. I've only ever used 2, and I'm going to show you the basic manner, and then I want to try one with 3. And I'm not going to knot it at the end like I typically would when I've done it, because again, I'm trying to figure out what I want to do at this point. I'm just going to put little clips to kind of hang on to it and see how that works for me. Okay, so let's try. I'm going to divide this up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Okay. So there we go. 5 and 5. So I'm going to take this. Okay. Like that. And like that. Move my chair back a bit. Okay. So basically what you want to do is I'm going to go in one direction. Now again, it does ask you in terms of the ply which way it goes. Now in terms of this, it's looking like the ply goes, the twist of the yarn is going this way. So if that's going this way, it means that I want to go this way, like looking at this corner, I want to go in this direction. If the ply was going this way, I would want my rotation to go in that direction. Okay, so it looks like it's in this direction. So I'm going to go like this. I'm going to count until this starts to kink back on itself. Okay, so I need to count for this. Okay, so let's try 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So let me just check. It's going to definitely kink back on itself. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to let it go. It's going to retwist itself, and when it stops, I will basically stop and undo it. Okay? All right. There we go. Pretty cool. Okay? So, now at this point I would do a knot, but right now, as I said, I'm just testing things out. These were my Gia. I don't know if they'll hold. Oh, they hold. Okay, there we go. They hold. All right. So let's try the next one. And I want to try it with 3 so that I can actually see the difference between them. Okay. So I'm going to put them in bundles of 3 instead. So 1, 2, and 3 bundles. Okay. So I'm going to try all 3 and I'm going to see what the twist difference seems to look like. So I've got that one there. Okay. I have this one here. And then let's do the last one here. Now again, I've never done 3, so I have no idea how that's going to work. Oop. There we go. I got a bit of arthritis here, so sometimes it's hard for me to do that. Okay, so I did 15 on the last one. Let's try 15 and see if that works. And again, because my threads are going this way, all right, I'm going to keep that in mind. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Does it crinkle back? Absolutely. Let's let that hang and do its thing. I don't think I did it actually enough because it's not bringing it all the way down. So I should have crinkled it more. So let's start that again. Hold on. All right. So let's undo these. Okay. Let's try that again. Because I'm used to, as I said with 2, I'm used to it going fairly quickly. And going, so maybe I needed to do more rotations. Let's try that. So 1, 2, 3. Hold on. Trying to pull them in order here. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And it's possible that maybe it's just not enough threads in order to allow for 3. All right, I may have to do 2. All right, so I've got that one there. Got that one there. And then I've got that one. Oh, that one there. Okay, so let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Let me try that. Okay, that seems to work. Let's see if that'll do a better job. Definitely doesn't go as far down. So let's take a look at the 2 here. I'm not sure if you can see. So I'll take a picture and put it up. This is definitely a tighter twist than this one. I think I would prefer it with 2 strands as opposed to 3 strands. So I think I'm going to leave that go. So I'm going to take this off. Not super happy with 3. It's a bit tighter than I want. If I had a thicker, there we go. What's that here? If I had a thicker one, I would definitely do that. So now the next one I want to do basically is I want to go on and I want to try some beads. I don't know if the beads will be too much and they'll take away from the actual beauty of the scarf, because you want your eye to go to the pattern. You spend so much time doing.